Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Just a one-man show today. What are we in? Fantasy week 10? I know it's regular season week 11. But one more week, actually 2 more weeks until playoffs. It's getting close. And I hope you guys are all going to be making playoffs. I know in my podcast league, it's going to come down to the last week. Let me know in the comments if you guys are going to make playoffs, if it's going to come down to the last matchup, if it's going to come down to this week's matchup. It's getting close to the end. It's sad. It's almost over. I feel like we just started fantasy. But I hope this has been very helpful for you guys. And we're going to be going over waiver wire pickups today. Injury updates. We had a lot of updates today. So we're going to get into that as well. So yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to start with transactions, and then that also includes all the injury watch and stuff like that. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I will get to them at the end during our Q&A session. I wanted to get in this live before the 4 p.m. games. Hopefully it helps you out if you guys still need it. So, yes, anything really transaction-wise that was important. Mariah Jefferson got waived by Chicago, which I found interesting. I think she re-injured herself, so that was a bummer. All the other 7-day contracts, I wouldn't really spend too much of my fantasy time on those. So I'm not going to hit those too much. But big injury update for today. Breanna Stewart, no timetable. I know there was a little bit of optimism Sunday night where they said she avoided significant injury, and she was going to travel on their 4-game road trip. But now there's no timetable. This is a bummer. I feel like a lot of people that have Breanna Stewart were in a position to make playoffs. And now you're going to be without her. If you haven't already, probably now is the time to get Misa in. We still don't know when she's going to come back. But if you have room on your IR and you're able to stash her, even though you have Breanna Stewart on your IR, it's going to be a little hard if you only have a 1 IR spot. But I think she would be the pickup for you. Unfortunately, in my league, someone has already picked up Misa Min, which is great on their part. I know we were saying you don't need to necessarily pick up Misa Min, but things have changed. One, Breanna Stewart's injury. They're resting Niara Sabally a lot. They're going to be resting Kennedy Burke, which is another update. If you guys didn't see that, Kennedy Burke is going to be out due to rest. New York's resting a lot of people, and it's very intriguing. So I'm curious to see how this affects us, especially going into fantasy playoffs. I'm just concerned more about the Breanna Stewart thing. I don't think we're going to get her back in time for playoffs. If you're thinking about it, New York has how many games this week? I think 3, 4. So she's probably going to miss all 4 of those. So that's this week. And then you're going to have one more week of regular season if you're in our podcast leagues. And then you're going to playoffs. Maybe fingers crossed she's back for fantasy playoffs. But the way I see New York being conservative, and I don't know if they're really going to rush her back, honestly. So I'm kind of sad about that because, like I said, I have Breanna Stewart. I need to win out to make playoffs. The Shiggy's podcast league is very close. I don't think maybe one team's only been eliminated or not even anyone. So we're going down to the wire on that one. So those 2 big injury updates. Aaliyah Edwards is going to be out. Something to monitor with Aaliyah Edwards is she's been rumored on the trading block for a while. And I know they kind of do this with other sports where they'll stop playing a player because they're going to trade them so they don't want them to get hurt. Not saying that is this. But I mean, the timing's a little weird. The trade deadline's in a week? I think it's like August 7th is the trade deadline. So I want to say that's something to monitor if you have Aaliyah Edwards. If you guys saw our recap, we went over everyone who returned. Chicago is going through an injury bug right now. Angel Reese is probable to play Tuesday, which is good news. I have her in a couple of leagues. So that is good for the people who have Angel Reese. Maisha Hines-Allen is actually going to be back. Paige Beckers, I believe, is back. She just had that one rest day. We talked about the Kayla Thornton injury, out for rest of season. And when we go over waiver wires, we're going to be talking a little bit about Golden State Valkyrie players. This is where Meg usually comes in and we'll debate a little bit about Golden State Valkyrie players, but she's not going to be able to tune into this live, so I'm going to try my best. Drop your questions about Valkyrie players. I think it's going to be hard. And I will say the same thing with Dallas, especially with Hines Allen coming back into the fold, Dejanay returning. Things are getting a little murky in Dallas, in my opinion, as well, which I will cover my thoughts on that. And then I think, Cameron Brink. I know we have questions every week about Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink's going to be back on Tuesday. Everyone's like, who's she going to affect most? Who's she going to affect most? I don't think she's going to affect anyone crazy. If it would probably be for Azrae. But Azrae's just been having such a great season. I don't think they're going to be like, all right, Cameron's back, you're out. She has to get ramped back up. Minute restriction probably, back to game speed, conditioning. There's all these factors that are going to go into it. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to have to view that over the next couple weeks. Yes, it's kind of tough with the fantasy playoffs and making those decisions. But if you held on to Cameron Brink, I don't know if you're necessarily going to play her right off the bat. I'll be honest with you on that. Other than that, I don't think there's any other updates. We had talked about in the recap, Caitlin Clark, no timetable, so that's going to be a bummer. Other than that, I think that handles all the injuries that were important for fantasy anyways. Game count or injury, we went over that. Game count, though, we have a couple teams with 4 games this week: Atlanta, Golden State, and New York. Another bummer for Breanna Stewart managers, because this would have been a great week, especially if you need to get into the playoffs. But Golden State and Atlanta players are definitely going to get a tick up in the rankings this week. Teams that only have 2 games, Sparks and Minnesota. It's going to be a bummer. I have a lot of Minnesota or Sparks players this week. So yeah, that. And you know what's funny? I feel like we always mention it, but like, fantasy is a little bit of luck, especially with women's basketball, in my opinion. Just because, I mean, say this week was your first round of playoffs, and you have Nafisa Collier, and now you're out of luck because you only get to play Nafisa twice. Obviously, if you're the opponent, you're like, thank God I only have to play Nafisa twice in fantasy playoffs. So that is, I mean, there is a luck factor to that as well. So I get it. I understand the frustrations. So this week, everyone else has 3 games, so a little bit on the even playing field on that aspect. But if you are new here, we do a top 30 ranking. We used to do day-by-day rankings. We used to do just like an overall, I want to say even past 30 players. Right now, I feel like top 30 is like the sweet spot where you're still seeing these players on your waiver wire, depending on if you're a 10-man league to a 6-man league. I will drop other players' names because I feel like some should be mentioned that are deeper past this 30 top rankings. But let's go over these top 30 rankings, because let me say, I have Rachel Banham up here, and I think someone in my Discord was saying, I think I have to drop Banham or something along the lines of dropping Banham. And I said, I have to drop Banham. Because I have too many good guards. I had no bigs. I was trying to make a push to win last week. It didn't work out in my favor. So I ended up dropping Banham, and Banham ended up dropping 40 fantasy points. I quickly picked up Banham. Thank God no one picked her back up. But Rachel Banham is definitely up there. The only reason I have her under Bria Hartley is I feel like Bria Hartley has just been consistently in those 20-point, 25-point fantasy plus games. Rachel Banham has seen a dip depending on how bad Chicago is getting blown out. And Angel Reese is coming back. I'm not saying that's totally going to affect Rachel Banham in any like crazy way, but it is going to take away some scoring opportunities, right? And then we have to introduce Haley Jones to the top 3. Is it crazy? Am I overreacting? Maybe. But there's no way. And I also made this mistake. I had to drop her. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions because you have to play day by day. I get it. That's how me and Meg play. Haley Jones, man, could be just impactful. Haley Jones is hurting all of our other Dallas players right now. Not the Paige Beckers. I'm talking about Louisa, Lee Rue, JJ Quinterly, Isaiah James, because she's so versatile. She can just play anywhere right now. In my opinion, she is just killing it. She's coming off the bench, but she's being effective with her minutes, and it's just so helpful. And if she's hot, whoever's not hot is coming off. We've seen it, especially with, like, we'll go over the whole McCowan situation because the bigs, the rotations, they're playing truly hot hand, and that's why I really think Hines Allen coming into the mix only muddies the waters even more. So that's a bummer. But I want to say Haley Jones, definitely in the top 3. You just can't pass up on her, in my opinion. Yeah, she's just a great pickup. She's doing good. I would ride the hot hand until she doesn't produce anymore, which I don't think is going to be a thing. But I understand if you still have to pick and drop and add and do all those things you have to do every single week. Other than that, I feel like Valkyries in my rankings this week got a bump up because they do have 4 games. Same with Atlanta players, but I always have Naz Hillman within the top 20, so I don't really want to, beat a dead horse in that aspect. But if I had to pick any Valkyrie, for me, is Janelle Salon. She's starting. No Monique Billings. No Kayla Thornton. If she's hot, she's hot. And, Valkyries also like to ride the hot hand. But for me, I just favor her. I know Megan likes Zandalicini a little bit more. But in my opinion, I still favor Salon. Temi can still be in there as well with the lack of depth. But if Ileana Rupert continues to play well, I think she can outlast Temi. Rupert has the ability to shoot the 3, which makes her more... not deadly I don't want to use the word deadly, but helps out in fantasy. So right now, I know she's in my top 20. I still have her below like Temi, just because I think they're going to continue to start Temi. And Rupert gets into foul trouble sometimes, which can limit her minutes. And she's still in that teen range. I want to say this last game, though, it was in the 20s that she got playing time. But let me see a little bit more games. She only has 2 games under her belt. You guys know the Valkyries love to switch up the rotation, as frequently as possible. I want to give Nakase time to adapt without Kayla Thornton and find that lineup and that rotation she wants to go to now that she's going to be missing a big piece. So I think we have to give her that grace and kind of figure it out. But I think Rupert the last 2 games, 20 and 25 fantasy points? Yeah, 20 and 25 fantasy points. That's solid. I'm going to rock with it. That's why she's in my top 20 all of a sudden. And then I want to keep Louisa here. I think if we had to pick a big, this is a hard statement because I know we are all high on LaRue. LaRue had that stretch of good games. But before Louisa went overseas, she was doing well. I know. She had a bad game last week, or this last game with only 9 fantasy points, and then Tiara McCowan went off. I think that was just a situation of riding the hot hand. Tiara was just doing very well. I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. I think they're going to stick it out with Louisa, Liu, and then go from there, and whoever's doing better they're just going to ride the hot hand. I think that's just how it's going to be moving forward. I like Louisa because she can hit a 3. If a big can hit a 3, that's my cup of tea. They're going to get you more. They have the more opportunity of getting you fantasy points, right? So to me, if they have that upside, I'm going to rank them higher. So if I had to go with a Dallas big, it is going to be Louisa. Now Maisha Hines-Allen comes in. I think it muddies the water more for McCowan than really Louisa and Liu. But, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys have any different opinions or have any questions regarding that. Feel free to drop them in the chat. And I also want to shout out Natasha Mack. I feel like she's not getting a lot of love. We don't really touch on her too much. She doesn't get crazy minutes, usually under 20 minutes, but she's efficient fantasy-wise. 24 fantasy points, 17 fantasy points in the last 2 games. So that's something to monitor. I know with Satu and Kalia Copper coming back, you guys don't see Sammy Whitcomb in this top 20 so far. I think I have her in my top 30 still. Let me see. I do have her in my top 30 still. I think Sammy's just been having, a couple of down games, especially with Kalia Copper and Satu back in the lineup. But she's still getting some good minutes. We know if Sammy gets hot, she has the ability to get hot from 3, which obviously equals a lot of fantasy points. So I'm still going to respect what Sammy Whitcomb can bring to fantasy-wise. But the other names that are like kind of floating there, Jade Milbourne. Don't talk about her a lot. 27 fantasy points, 14 fantasy points in the last 2 games. So that's something, another weapon. I know we talk about Suge all the time. She had a down game with 9 fantasy points, but she starts and gets a lot of good minutes. But Jade's another weapon you guys can look forward to using, especially this week. And then Maria Johannes is actually in my top 30 because she started second half for Breanna Stewart last game. They're resting a lot of players, right? So, I mean, Maria Johannes' numbers are, her time is just going to go up. Is she going to start? To be determined, but if she does, you could pick her up. Obviously, this one is kind of more of a boom bust. You guys know Marine, she can pop off. If she's hot and she's just chucking those threes and fading away on her 1-footer, like, she's unstoppable. But then you guys can also see sometimes she'll take those shots and they're not going to go in. So if you need a flyer, if you need someone that can potentially pop off for you to win your matchup or to keep you in your matchup, Johannes is that person. She's that person. And with 4 games this week, she has the upside, and she could potentially win your matchup, honestly. Malonga has also been going off for Seattle. The bummer about Malonga is she does not get a lot of minutes, like 14, 17 minutes. I think 17 was like her highest. And Seattle is kind of in a blunder right now, which is confusing, honestly. But last 2 games, 25 fantasy points, 32 fantasy points. For me, I think I have her ranked this low because it's a trust issue thing for me. Just because Seattle's been kind of shaky. And you guys don't know like what Noelle Quinn is going to do with Malonga's playing time. We've been pounding the desk? Pounding the desk for Malonga to play because every time she gets in, she's pretty efficient with her minutes. But you can also see her log, and she'll have a 3-point fantasy game, a 4-point fantasy game. And then you're like, so that's why she's still risky. I know 2 back-to-back good games. But Seattle, for me, is just, they're in a blender right now. I know I wanted to mention some names that weren't in the top 30. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough has been doing very well. Maya Caldwell has been doing well. I know Ryan Howard is expected to be back. I know she's ruled out for all of July, but July is coming to an end. She'll probably be reevaluated maybe in August, first week of August, and then we'll probably have more of a clear picture of when she's going to come back. So until that point, you could probably ride with Maya Caldwell and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. I know waiver wires are getting thin out there. There's a lot more injuries. A lot of people are using their IR spots and then claiming an extra player. So we are seeing a lot of thin waiver wires out there. And then Kendi Burke is ruled out, so I wouldn't worry too much about her. Olivia Nelson-Ododa, I think it's time to worry about that. I know we rode the high for a little bit, but it looks like they're going to go with Anissa Morrow. They have nothing really to lose. She's a young talent. And they wanted to get her some work. Hey, they're last, so it is what it is on that part. And I think Dana Evans could be a good play if you really need someone, especially on those games. I think there's one this week. I think it's Vegas and Minnesota, right, where there's only one game on Saturday. So if you need a player, Dana Evans is almost always out there. She's going to get minutes, and she usually gets you double-digit fantasy points. So those are names that I would look out for. And let me know, guys. I know that we have changed the format of waiver wires a couple of times, trying to figure out what's the best way to relay this information. So we're always open to suggestions. I know right now top 30 has been the easiest to go over, just because if we go day-by-day rankings, it kind of gets repetitive, and we're kind of repeating ourselves. But let us know if it's helpful, just doing a top 30 ranking of where we think, or where we value players, I guess, for the week. With that said, we'll go into Q&A. I'm trying to get it done before the 4 p.m. game, so I don't ruin that for you guys. Not ruin it, but interrupt it for you guys. There was a question about McCowan seeing higher usage long term. I answered it kind of. I think it was a hot hand situation with Hines Allen coming in. It's just gonna muddy the water even more. If you want to say YOLO and do it, sure. Maybe you catch her on that hot hand day. But I personally wouldn't trust it. Would you drop anyone from this team to put your repair in? Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, Mabry Lloyd, Haley Jones, Alleman, Collier, Rakia Bonner. Currently 7-2. We'll get into playoffs. So the thing is, if you're saying just like long term, sure, because you have so many guards. I would drop one of your guards, probably Alleman. Because I just said ride the hot hand with Haley Jones. But I would probably go either Haley Jones or Alleman to get repair in there. If it's for this week, I would drop Alleman because LA only has 2 games. If that's where you want to go. Drop or hold Sammy Whitcomb? This is a hard question. I love Sammy. The thing is, who would you pick up for Sammy Whitcomb? Because I would probably drop her. They don't play until, what, Tuesday? No, Wednesday. Okay, I would probably drop her. It depends who you want to pick up. If you don't have really anyone else, Sammy's still going to get minutes. Sammy can get hot. So, that's what you kind of have to think of. Josh said, I pretty much clinched. Congratulations. We love to see it. What player is the best player to trade? To trade right now? Dang, you still have a trade deadline. Trade deadline hasn't passed? That's nice. Honestly, if you have Haley Jones and you can trade her like for something like not crazy, but if you could package Haley Jones with just like another mediocre guard or big and go for a big name, it might work out in your favor. I would just try and ride the hot hand. I know I said it might be a long term for Haley Jones, but I think I would try and sell her high. Haley Jones for sure. Another person I was trying to target, if you're trying to target someone or you're just trying to trade away someone, it kind of depends on who's on your team. Who do you want to get rid of? Do you play fantasy football? I do play fantasy football. We play a family league. I do miss fantasy football. Preparing for one day instead of preparing every day. Woo! That is definitely something different. But I mean, back to your first question, best player to trade. It kind of depends on who you are, who's on your team, who you're looking at, and your roster construction. But if one player off the top of my head, if I'm like trying to get a bigger name, I'm gonna try and package Haley Jones in something to get a big name. Because Haley Jones is on a heater right now. And you probably picked her up from the waiver wire, so are you really losing much? Unless you burned your waiver priority. Then. But I mean, I would have burned my waiver priority for Haley Jones. I know people had questions about Sanaya Rivers burning their waiver priority for Sanaya Rivers. I think Sanaya is a great play. I have Bria Hartley ranked over Sanaya, obviously. It doesn't look like Marina Mabry cut too much into Sanaya's efficiency fantasy-wise. So, yeah. Janice, what's up? Checking in. Great job on the content. Thank you. I appreciate it. We haven't talked in a while. I know you're making a push for playoffs in the podcast league. I think we have the last game. Me and you, Janice, will have the last game this fantasy season against each other. Drop Sammy for Haley Jones. Yeah, I would do that. I would drop Sammy for Haley Jones. Didn't you do that? Oh wait, no, I have Haley Jones in that league. Didn't we just play each other? Man, your team went off. Your team went off that game. Yeah, Janice, I was looking at, because our league's close. This league is pretty close. I was looking at your schedule coming up, because I was like, man, I have to win out if I want to get in, right? All 4 of us have to win out. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of us are going to have to win out on that one, so It's gonna be pretty tough. But I saw we have the last game against each other after this week. So that's gonna be interesting. But it was fun. This league was very competitive this year, honestly. So I couldn't ask for a better league. Our league was doing well. This league has been a blast. Bro, aren't you like, have you lost? Aren't you undefeated in our league? Let me see. Had it up. Oh, 8-1. Yeah, our league has been pretty tough. Who did you even lose to? Let's see. Oh, it doesn't tell me who you lost to. Oh, you only lost the second week? That's crazy. Oh my god, this is the one where you only beat me by 2 points. That was the game. That was crazy. I'm going to need to beat you this week, sorry. Janice, very competitive league. Yeah, this league, everyone's been close. Everyone's beating everyone. It's been very, very close. It's going to come down to the last 2 games of this fantasy season for sure. So that's going to be fun. And we'll see who's going to be in the Champ League for next season. If you guys tune in and want to know what Champ League is basically, I think we take 4 winners, right? We take the 4 first place winners of each of our podcast leagues, and we add them to our Champ League that we have. The Champ League has a bottom 4. Those bottom 4s will be eliminated. And then the new 4 will come in, and we'll play the top 4 of last year's league. So, that Champ League, the top 4 have been competitive. Come on, guys, the bottom 4, it was a struggle. I saw a lot of injuries on your guys' team, though. I saw it. But yeah, just another way to keep everyone competitive. We're gonna have our first inaugural winner of the Champ League this season, so that's gonna be cool. And then we'll just keep it going. It's gonna be fun. For sure. I know all of our trade deadlines have passed. Was there any other questions, start sit wise, that you guys have? Any comments on the new waiver wire ranking systems, or any other information you guys want to add? Especially for fantasy playoffs. Leave a comment of what you guys want to see for maybe a playoff primer of like who's gonna have the most games, who to target, stuff like that. Definitely something that we want to explore more, especially for playoffs, especially because these leagues have been a lot more competitive. So make sure to leave a comment if you guys aren't watching this live so I can get to those comments. And if you have any other start sit questions or fantasy questions, you can join our Discord, our community. We'll answer those questions, and then I'll pop in every once in a while to also answer those questions. But if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. Okay? We appreciate it so much. And also, if you guys didn't know, we did partner with Underdog. If you are a first-time user, you can use that QR code and get up to 1,000 bonus funds. So make sure to use the QR code on the screen as well. We appreciate you guys' support so much, honestly. Last comment, most games played for playoffs is definitely a priority. Yeah, that is something we are for sure going to definitely highlight. Probably that week before playoff starts, breaking down first round and then second round. Thank you for the great content. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. I want to get you guys to the 4 p.m. game. Well, 4 p.m. West time, Pacific time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Peace out, guys.